All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Craps Chat. It says the host is Chris JusticeJen, but it's me. Chris will be here soon. He's running a little bit late, but he'll be joining us and taking over the reins here in a little bit. I want to get started by addressing a comment already. Late start. Where's the producer? I thought we were on time. I thought we were 6:05 start, right? I thought we did a good job. Anyway, welcome in. We're going to be talking tonight about tournament play. That's going to be the big subject here. We just finished a big tournament. Chris from JusticeJen just got done with his March Madness, and it was absolute madness in that tournament. We're about to kick off a couple new tournaments. There's a Dice Throwers tournament going on right now. There's potentially going to be a Strategist tournament coming from George from CY. We've got a couple things that are in the hopper that are going to be tournaments that are going to lead us up into the finales of Craps for the Cure. So it's kind of what's going on right now. And I'm admittedly the worst tournament player in the panel. So we brought in some experts to help us through this and help us decide like what's the way to win. So let me bring the panel up here and we'll talk to them for a minute and welcome everybody. How are we all doing? Everybody can just wait.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. Oh.
Awesome. All right.
New faces here.
Yeah, right. A couple new faces. Let's do our come out roll. Let's introduce ourselves as we go. And I'm going to go top left Dylan and we'll go to Jen and then Craig and then John and Papa Chops. Dylan, what's your come out tonight?
I was just trying to think of a halfway decent one, but no, I'm really kind of dumbfounded right now because my mind went blank. But just basically, I hate that. Don't you hate when that happens? So just go back to basics. Then it should be the foundation of everything. Go back to the basics and the one-on-one stuff that when you get flabbergasted and can't think of anything. So I'm just going to stick with the basics and say play safe and don't overextend yourself.
Mm-hmm. Words of wisdom. Jen, what's your come out roll tonight?
How's this computer audio? It sounds like
perfect.
Okay? No, sounds great.
Great.
They sound good.
Great.
Fancy. Okay, good. I'm on a cruise ship right now. I just got a free. I'm like in the dark and creepy. I just got a free steak dinner for tomorrow. They were like, hey, do you want a free massage? I'm like, oh God, no, don't touch me. I opted for the free steak dinner and I realized it was good for like 4 people, but I'm here by myself. So gosh, I could invite 3 friends. There was a guy who played with me yesterday and I won like a ton of money. He's like the old school, like handsy, touchy kind of guy. So he's like, hi, what's your name? I'm like, his name is David. And he kept like hugging me and like rubbing my back. Whoa.
Wow.
But he's just old school, like northeast friendly guy, and I'm just gonna let it go because he's an old guy. So I was like, oh man.
That's right. We're all touchy feely in the Northeast.
I know you pervs up there.
Hey.
Just trying to keep things warm.
There you go. Oh boy. Craig, what is your come out roll tonight?
Oh, what's coming out? I'm going to out myself, but it's okay because it's all about life lessons and lessons that you learn playing this wonderful game that we love. And my come out is, if you're going on a trip, depending on where you're going and how long you're going for, if you happen and manage to get up and hit up on day one, it is okay to go home, especially if you're in driving distance. I did not do that. I should have done that. I literally doubled the bankroll after the night session of day one. And I knew people were coming into town. I wanted to see them. And one of the lessons that I had to learn, I guess, or did learn is you got to decide whether you're there to win or you're there to socialize. And I don't think you can have both. Truly. You can have extreme of one or the other, depending on your play. But I don't think you can have both. If you're there to win, you're there to win. And if you happen to win early, go. Enjoy. You did it. You did what you came to the trip for. You came to the trip to come home with, with profit, and you happen to do it early. Sometimes it takes until that last day where sometimes you just break even on that last day and you're happy that you broke even. You're like, whew, but if you win early, it's okay to walk. No one's going to think bad of you for not staying. And that was a hard lesson I had to learn. So obviously you make your comps, but not the way you want to make your comps. There you go.
Yeah, that's words of wisdom right there. And Wager Me This just jumped on board and said, I agree, both ways don't work. It's you're there to win, put in the work, or you're there to have a good time. It's really hard to marry the two, especially over multiple days. Very, very tough. And Duracell's got the right idea in chat, by the way. I'm going to bookmark your question for later, but he does put a Q, you'll notice, in front of his question. So if you want to get addressed later on in the show, put a Q in front of it like that. I'll bookmark all of those. And at the end of the day here, we'll round up and do a little Q&A at the end. All right. All right.
I would add on, John.
Yeah, go for
John,
it.
I
Yeah.
would add on at the very end of that. If you are there to socialize, just make your buy-ins less, like maybe half of what you normally would buy in for. Because you're just there to talk and meet up and see people you haven't seen in a while. So there you go.
Socializing takes your eye off the ball a little bit. We say this all the time. Like, don't give the casino any extra chance to take your money. And if you're not paying attention because you're farting around, they're going to take your money, right? So that's small bankroll, little pass line parlay, and just kind of yuck it up with your buddies is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, don't be ashamed of dinking around. It's not like you're, some people get mad.
I think actually, the people would
applaud
applaud you for beating the craps table early.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you did it. See ya. We'll see you next
100%.
time.
100%. All right, let's meet one of our new guests, John.
Hi, everybody. I'm John. I'm up by Boston, as you can tell by the accent. I would say my come out is for the new players out there. Don't be afraid to go up to a table, even if you don't know how to play, because the camaraderie between all the craps players is amazing, and they'll show you how to play. At least I try to. When I see a newcomer coming up or a young kid coming up and he wants to learn how to play, I'll try to explain it to him. I'll tell him what bets are better and just try to guide him in his process, because a lot of people that I've talked to, not in the casinos, but I've talked to said, oh, I've always wanted to learn how to play, but I've been so intimidated. And that's one thing is start slow. You get next to somebody that's friendly, talkative, teaching you how to play bets, and you'll learn, and you'll have a blast, because everybody at the table, when everybody's at the table's winning, everybody's screaming and everybody's looking, and it's a blast. That's what attracted me to it. Plus, all the people online. I didn't even know there was such a online community that I was amazed. I've only been playing for 2 years.
Isn't it insane how our community is like big and boisterous and all in, and
it's amazing and it's great.
Yeah.
I've only been playing for 2 years, and I already built my own table in the basement, and I'm trying to, I'm having a blast teaching my kids. It's so much fun.
Are you going to encourage your family to play?
I do have my boy. I'm teaching my boys how to play, but I want to teach them. I had my youngest come down with me one night, and I told him, I should just throw the dice, throw them slow, just giving him some instructions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a great experience for him because he rolled for like 35 minutes.
Wow.
And I said to him, that doesn't happen very often. I said, you don't think it's going to happen like that all the time, because what happens? People come in, they'll get a 30-minute roll. Oh, this is fantastic. Next thing you know, they're losing their shirts, So teaching them slow. But he's having fun. And my wife just doesn't want any part of it. She'd rather go play the slot machines. Jen,
Well, it's also good to when you have your own table. My brother has a table, but he invites neighbors and relatives and church people, and there you have different circles of friends and acquaintances and stuff, and you can invite different people to come and play, and that's fun as well.
You can, and one of the things that I try to do is I'll have like my son, and he'll bring 3 of his friends over. And then what we'll do is I'll tell everybody, okay, we're going to go around the table once. Everybody gets, $1,000 in chips. At the end, who's got the most chips wins. and it's a lot of fun. So it's teaching them how to play. Plus, it gives you that little bit of competition, which I think everybody loves. You always got to beat the guy next to you.
All right, Papa Chops, the famous one and only Papa Chops, and you match your handle, don't you? Look at the mutton chops on that guy.
Yeah, that was
it.
my original handle, Papa Chops. I've
Love
eased
it.
into undisciplined because I am extremely undisciplined. So that's why my come out is ease into it when you walk up and just start, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a new player or a seasoned player, ease into it. Everybody says that. I ignore it all the time. And I come in heavy, and I have to say 99 times out of 100, I get burnt coming in heavy. And that's why, one of the reasons why I lost out on the semifinals.
Ooh, we'll get to that in just a minute.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. We have another guest that I don't have room on the screen for, but let's replace me with him. And Chris,
there he is.
What is your come out roll tonight, pal?
My come out roll. Wow. Good question. I haven't thought about this one. No, come out roll tonight is going to be it's a similar one that I used in the past, but the simplicity of things. People got to keep things simple. I see too many people trying to get complicated around different things, craps table, blackjack table. Why do we like to be so complicated? That's what I want to know. Why do people like to get so complicated with things? Because I was playing at the casino the other day, and I wasn't playing craps actually. I was playing blackjack, and I'm watching this guy play blackjack, and what he was doing was extremely complicated, and he was telling me what he was doing, and I understood it with the bonus bets that you can play on the blackjack table, the side bets, all that kind of stuff. But I'm sitting here, and this guy wasn't winning any of the bonus bets, and he's winning hands, but he's losing money every time because he's playing more on the bonus bets. And I'm sitting here and he's explaining to me this progressive play he's playing. I'm like, yeah, it works until it doesn't work. And that's just like everything in the casino, right? Craps is the same way. All strategies work until they don't work. So you need to kind of have a strategy that's going to work when it's not going to work. So keep things simple, right? There's no need to get all complicated and complex with your bets, and you think, oh, I know this new thing, and I'm the greatest at this. Just keep it simple. There's nothing that beats simplicity. I'm realizing that a lot. Like in my old age here, I'm learning.
Listen, you young pup, you.
You're right in line.
I had to
Chris.
throw it in there.
Have you noticed, like, except for Friday Follies this week, which was insane, I'm going backwards. I'm going to just the simplest possible ways. Everybody in chat's like, hey, you got to do this. I'm like, no, just keep it simple. Like the more crazy you get, the more complexity you add, the worse it is for you all the time. Jen, you had your hand up.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah. And I know I came in again. Apologies to everybody for being late. I'm sorry, I didn't even say that from the start. That's DJ's fault. But I know Craig was talking about, or I assumed he was talking about his Atlantic City trip, and I found that my simplest times at the table were when I was betting simply, right? Like I got crushed on the first day, crushed in the morning, and I was trying to be a little too cute. Honestly, I was sitting there, I was trying to get a little too cute with things. Afternoon on my second day there was simple 6 and 8. Rocked that out. Added a 5 and 9 when they were hitting. Add a 4 and 10 if they're hitting. 6 and 8 though. I was very simple 6 and 8, and I made enough money back betting just the 6 and the 8 to cover what I lost that morning and the night before. Whereas looking back on it, if I would have kept playing the way I was playing, trying to be all cute and all that kind of stuff, I would have got my ass handed to me again. So sometimes just simple's better.
But it's boring.
Hey, collecting money's never boring.
23 different bets. That's why we get all confused and we lose.
Yeah, that FOMO will eat you alive. Seriously.
You need to not have the FOMO. You need to get the
Exactly.
FOMO out of your head. Because when you have the FOMO, that's when you get yourself into trouble. Is when you start falling into that FOMO mentality. 9 times out of 10, you're falling into trouble. Very often, that's how it is.
It's all John's fault though. It's all
Huh?
John C's fault that we have FOMO. Like I didn't. If you have 6 and 8, it only takes a hit to really kind of get you mostly out of the hand, right? 1 or 2 hits and you're really done. But I didn't have FOMO before when I started and I learned from Charlie, but then I watched John and everything is like, oh, wasted roll, wasted roll. I'm like, what is this wasted roll concept? And then you go across because you don't want to miss anything, plus a craps check because you don't want to miss anything. But I had my hand raised because what Chris said elicited something from yesterday. This guy kept cheering like on all the come out sevens, and I was like, oh, but he's such a dummy. Like he had 555, $15 pass line, 555 to cover the, 15 to cover the 555. But then he had all the hard ways for a nickel each, so that's $20. So every time there was a seven, he was losing $20. And finally, I turned around and I'm like, why are you cheering? You've lost $20 for the last four come out like sevens in a row. He's like, no, I didn't. I won. I'm like, dude, let's math. 15 minus 15, that's a zero. Minus 20, that's minus 20. He's like, oh my God. Oh my God. Like, please, come out sevens are never good for anybody when there's an ATS. Like,
The bleed is real.
Yeah.
no,
That bleed
yeah.
will bleed you dry. You'll have nothing left.
100%.
No, we hit, no, I think it was fine. We hit every leg. So yesterday we had like 3 portions of the ATS. You only need 1 in 30. So we hit it like in like 15 rolls, we hit it 3 times. So it wasn't bad. It was just like the come out sevens and him like cheering like he won the lottery, and I just couldn't anymore. And he was giving me all these like side eyes because I got my little notebook and he's like, what are you writing? Like secret code about all of us? I mean, are you like, do I have boogers in my nose? I'm like, what's your problem, bro? Here's my book. And at the end, we were like best friends. He's like, gonna meet my wife and all this stuff. So like, what John GT said, we all just become friends as long as you don't perv out and keep grabbing women. Like,
Jen just has Dear Diary written in that notebook.
I do. Too. This guy's an idiot, cheering every come out seven.
All right. Well, I guess my comment. I haven't done mine yet. Mine will be quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to tee y'all up because I wanted to talk about tournaments tonight. So the reason for that is twofold. One is Chris just got done with this big tournament, and I think we have to talk about all the things that happened there. And the ways that people approach tournaments and win them is always fascinating to me because I don't have that kind of mindset. But that said, we're about to get going with 2 more tournaments, right? We have 2 tournaments that we expect to end at Craps for the Cure. We're gonna reinvigorate Friday Night Fights, or not that show, but that style of King of the Mountain. So we're gonna have 8 brackets and 8 Kings of the Mountain at the final table to win the big money, and potentially another battle royale going. So with tournament season in all effect, I want to see what people are thinking about when they approach a tournament, how they look at that bankroll differently than their regular, and yeah. So I'm going to open the floor and like Chris kind of run the show. I'm going to get back into the mute mode, which will make everybody in chat super happy, and let y'all just kind of hash that out.
Yeah, tournament play. It's a different beast. I can tell you that. And I know we have quite a few seasoned tournament players on the panel tonight. But for those of you at home who don't know, tournament play and real craps table play are really 2 different things, right? You may use some aspects of what you play at a regular table in a tournament, but typically it's going to be at different levels. And there's different strategies that go about, especially when you're playing. And I'm not talking crap strategies, just strategy of battling in general. When you're playing in these tournaments, because you may have one player, you may have one opponent, you may have 2, you may have 3 opponents, you may have more opponents, right? So you're not trying to win the casino's money at this point. You're trying to beat the other player that you're playing against. So even if you end up in the positive, it may not be good enough if somebody else is in the positive more than you are, right? So tournament play is definitely a different beast. We'll kick it around the panel here and talk about what people think about tournament play. I think I have a very different perspective on tournament play than many, and I've seen it a lot because I run my own tournament, right? And I've seen how a lot of people play in tournaments. And I don't play in tournaments very often, but I have a mentality going into the tournament that I would use, and I was trying to see if anyone was going to use it, but nobody really did. So maybe I'll let that cat out of the bag. We'll see. It's been successful for me in tournament play and craps tournaments. But Craig, Mr. What, 5-time King of the Mountain champion, 6-time, excuse me, 6-time. How do you approach tournament play? What kind of goes through your head? Take us through the mindset that you're playing with, right? We don't need specifics on bankrolls and other stuff, but what's your mentality going into a tournament style play? You're muted.
Mute.
We have to hear your lovely voice. I can't read lips that
There
well.
you go.
Amateur.
All right. There you
Take
go.
Take
Minus
two.
the DGen March Madness tournament, which I never tend to do well. So we'll just put that aside. Oftentimes, like when I won on the Friday Night Fights, I learned how Chris, Jeff, and John all shoot. And I got to, from watching their live shows. And from that, I was able to determine whoever was the shooter that night. Now, sometimes they shot random, which is fine. Sometimes they shot setting, which is what I was interested in. But honestly, if you keep a notebook and just write down the rolls and follow what's rolling, you should do well. Obviously, when you get into a tournament where it's not straight traditional craps, where there are special rules, obviously you don't want to get behind the next person because they're going to do the rule. If you make the rule, you're going to do it. They're going to follow because everybody wants to hit that 30-1. But if it's just straight up traditional craps tourney, kind of like that, honestly, roll. I would write down how many sessions there are, because like Friday Night Fights, there's 3 sessions. If you're giving a very limited bankroll, I say go dark. If you're giving a normal bankroll, then go light. But follow what's rolling. Write down the rolls. Writing down the rolls helped me achieve the 6-time crown. So
Tracking the rolls. I know Jen's on board with that. Dice Motion, I see in here you have what are the basic tournament rolls time, that kind of stuff. Rules depend based on the tournament themselves. I know, like for my tournament, it's 5 shooters. There's no specific set of rolls, just 5 shooters. You have a starting bankroll. There's rule changes and other stuff involved. Big AZ does it almost every night. God bless him. I don't know how he does that, but
I don't either.
he does it almost every night with different rule changes, multiple opponents, different factors that go into his. Like that literally changes by the minute, his rules. Friday Night Fights was 3 rounds. Each round had different rules. So kind of depends on the tournament. But John, I'm going to come to you because I know you play a lot on AZ's channel. You've played in my tournaments and stuff before. What's kind of your mentality going into tournament play or like head-to-head type matches compared to, let's say, like going to a casino?
Well, going to a casino, it's real money. So it's completely different. When I go into a tournament, I go in and I try to use the rule changes either to my advantage or my opponent's disadvantage. So, for instance, if there's a hard ways, or if I'm betting the inside and my opponent's betting the outside, so I'll try to opposite their bets. So either one of us is going to come out on top, really on top, or you're just going to lose it and you're going to go out quick. But I try to have as much fun as I possibly can. And that's what those tournaments are all about. And you know me, Chris. It's
Yep.
me. It's all about the bragging rights. Look what I did to Anthony. Do you remember?
Yeah. You still talk about it. And that was last year.
Yeah. And I came in second place last year, And this year, when I played against Gargoyle, him and we were hammering each other. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
We were playing crapless. And it came down to he shut his bets off and I didn't.
Yep.
And that's what won the game. That's how he beat me.
Yeah. G and I are actually going to do an analysis of that whole entire match. I think I'm going to need to have you on as well so we can chat through the mindset there and stuff. But yeah, tournament play is very different. Some people approach it like you do, right? Where you're just trying to do the opposite of what somebody else is doing. You have other
Right.
people who are trying to play catch up based on what somebody else did already, right? And you have
Yep.
some people try to chase rolls, where, you know, it could be, you know, let's say you're on the insides and 4s and 10s are rolling. Well, you take all your inside bets and move it to the 4 and 10, and then now nothing but inside numbers is hitting, and you just
Yeah.
chase around the table basically.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of things that go into tournament play. And when you said you brought up the opposing mindset, it's almost like you have to treat tournament play in craps almost like you're playing like a poker tournament, right? You're not playing the casino, you're playing the man that you're playing
Yep.
or the woman that you're playing up
Absolutely.
against,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of the mentality that you have to go in with from a perspective of you're playing against somebody else. It doesn't matter if you win or lose because you could still lose money and still win the tournament. It's just the way it may work out depending on how the rolls go. But you almost have to have that poker mindset of like, oh, okay, I'm playing up against this guy or this girl, and we need to play in that fashion as opposed to maybe, you know, you could be a religious 220 inside, 320 across. You can do whatever you normally do. But, you know, if I go 220 inside, John splashes, who knows? He could go 640 across, and then all right, well now 4 hits. Well, now I'm sitting in my head like, okay, well he's up on me now. Now what do
Yep.
I do? Well, John's sitting pretty because he can do really what he was doing, and now I'm sitting in my head trying to be like, all right, well, how do I come back from this? Because I'm already down and we're one roll in, right?
The
And
key
yeah, I
is
know.
one of the key things is you have to get ahead of your opponent immediately.
Yep.
And once you get that lead, you got to keep that lead because if like for instance, when I was playing with Gargoyle, I had a great lead on Gargoyle, but he outplayed me because he shut his off. So you got to try to maintain that lead and don't get greedy. You know, just you got to learn. You got to play craps. And you know, Nemo said it perfect in the chat. It's like chess with craps. It's a chess match. You just got to play around your opponent, try to beat him.
Yep, that's true. All right, Glenn, what's your thoughts on tournament play? How do you approach it? Because I know you're very active in a lot of different crapsy sessions. I know you're live on a lot of different channels. Obviously played in my tournament this year. I think you've played on some AZ stuff as well. So how do you approach the tournament style of play, let's say, versus, you know, a normal casino trip for yourself?
Well, that's a big problem because I don't, for the most part, have that tournament mentality yet. And I always start off with how I might play at a real table, being kind of conservative. And obviously knowing the shooter makes a big difference. And I've learned, you know, like with Brian from HCS and Jay-Z, you know, what they tend to throw in the openings, and I've adjusted. Prior to that, I was just getting wiped out by the come outs because I wasn't paying attention to how they roll. And I think I still suffer from that a little bit. But even when I don't know the roller, I'm not paying attention to, you know, I'm still kind of new to this stuff. I think the sets and how that can promote certain numbers versus others. And I've seen people, based on what the dice setting is, they know, well, there's a much less probability, say, of a 6-4-10 because of how it's set. And they adjust their bet slightly, knowing that there's that smidgen of a chance better that it ain't going to happen, something else will. And I don't have the insights to do that yet. In your tournament, when we have the special rules, I've noticed that many of us were caught short because we didn't fully comprehend the rule and bet accordingly. And I think that's why John went up really quick, because he could have survived if he really understood the rule and how to bet that rule. But when you're just playing regular craps and you have this oddball rule in there, that makes it a lot harder, a lot more challenging. I think that's what makes it a more interesting tournament, because of the fact that, well, you got to think a little bit differently now. Not just that I got to have a bigger amount of chips to this guy, but like Gargoyle, how does he start out? 6 and 8. So how do I hamper everybody else? $250 minimum bet on any bet. Well, there go all the prop bets. I was going to come out with a hybrid setup, and I'm like, oh, I don't have enough starting bankroll to do that now. I was like, okay, I'll go whaling. I'll go 4-10 on the opening. Well, great. There was come out 7. So now I'm down 500. He could have done anything after that and won no matter what. I still played really aggressive, of course, trying to catch up, and just kept getting burned. So I don't know how I won in Hawaii. I've been playing it all the time. I play rather conservatively, and it's funny because I'll see myself hovering around 5th or 6th. Other people fly up and then flash out, you know. And then that one time, I think it was really heavy on the horns. And I don't do a full parlay on the horns, but I do press it hard. And there were times where there were 3 horns, I think once 4 horns in a row. That makes a huge difference. So I'm still learning, though. I've only been in this game for under 2 years.
Yeah, tournament play. I think tournament play is probably one of the hardest things to learn, right? You could be well versed in all these different strategies. You could be well versed in the game of craps and all this kind of stuff. But playing in tournaments, the way you get good at playing in tournaments is by playing in tournaments and falling on your face a bunch of times. And you brought up an interesting point with the conservative play. So it's funny. You see a lot of these people in tournament play, and like you said, there's a lot of fluctuations in bankroll, right? But the conservative bettors, more often than not, do better than those people who are playing these crazy ways where you have these large fluctuations. And the thing with the conservative player is you have to stay true to being a conservative player, right? And that's like you said on Brian's shows where if you stay relatively conservative, you're not concerned about those guys who are going up a bunch, down a bunch. It doesn't really matter to you, right? You're just staying steady, steady, steady. And it's almost like, you know, the tortoise and the hare story where you could jump up really quick, but the same thing that made you jump real high is also going to drain your bankroll. And it happens in tournaments all the time, right? Where like you may get up early, right? Like John was saying, you want to get up early. So you do something to get up early. But getting up early is only half the battle. Staying up there is the other half of the battle. And 9 times out of 10, when the players are playing that way and they get up super high, super quick, they think, oh, this game is easy. I'm just going to keep doing this and put it to bed right now. Next thing they know, they're in bed because they're out of the tournament. It's really interesting way to play. So, Jen, what are your thoughts on tournament play?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes some of this conversation is not super helpful because every tournament, and I play the real tournaments like at, you know, Caesars, and their rules are insane, like really crazy. No dice setting, first of all. No, if you dice set, you're eliminated immediately. So whatever the stickman passes you the dice, you pick it up and you fling it. And it's basically like multiple rounds, right? Each person gets to throw once per round. There's a max cap on the thing. So there's 0 chance that your dice influencing will help you. And I think that's actually kind of probably better because it's a little bit more predictable. So, you know, you're not really paying attention to it, whether it's like a 6-4 or 2-4 or whatever, if they just have to fling it. So I think when you guys, exactly what Chris says, you have to practice. Because this is going to be a casino sponsored, it's probably going to be very similar rules. So you're going to want to learn. You have to do your research, right? And I think that I agree with Chris. You actually cannot worry about the other player. It's not like big AZ tournaments, right? It's like you just need to worry about you and practice how you can grind yourself so that you're in the middle. If you're just trying to survive to the next round, you're not trying to win that round. So like poker, right? You just want to keep making it to the money bubble and then you can go, or you pick a favorable position where you shove, right? But you have information in poker and you have no information really in these dice tournaments that the casinos sponsor. They're freaking terrible and they're hard because it's literally just random throwing. And you just have to worry about probability. Based on probability, keep it simple, like Chris says, you know, get a 4 and 10 and then pound those, right? Or you know, iron cross, but you know, you have to like really switch. And because of the way they design it so that you can't throw more than like once or twice, it won't matter how skilled you are, how much you practice throwing. And then for HCS weekends, I love those because it's just regular craps rules. And you know, that's fun, but same thing. I just grind. And Brian can back me up. I'm probably like I probably had the most top 6 finishes in his show because I'm just grinding to stay alive so I can pounce at the end. But that's different. That no tournament that we're going to be in is going to have regular rules. It's all going to be special rules. So you just go to craps and practice the special rules.
Yeah, and understand the rules, right? I think that's a big thing that
absolutely.
a lot of people may not know when they start playing in tournament style play is really understand the rules of the tournament and what could potentially affect you, right? For example, in my tournament, you can change any bet payout to another bet payout on the table, right? And people are like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense." Well, let's say you change the come bet to pay 30 to 1, right? If you have a continuous come bet that's paying 30 to 1, you can put $100 in the come and you can max all the way across. You have zero risk there, really, other than the horns, right? Or really any crap number, 2, 3, or 12. Even then, though, you're still going to lose your $100 come. You leave $100 in there, and you're probably not going to get 2 of them in a row. You hope, right? But if you're paying 30 to 1 in the come, you on a 7, you're getting $3,000 regardless, right? And then those come bets keep going up. So, like, really understand the rules of the tournament, right? Because, like Jen's saying, if you can stay in the bubble area, if you're playing a tournament with 8 people and you only have to be top 4 to move on, you don't have to try to catch the guy who's up at the top. You have to beat the guy who's in 5th place. Different situations. So understanding the rules is huge for that kind of stuff. Dylan, what's your thoughts on tournament play?
Well, you kind of really stole my thunder because that is one of the most important things is understanding the rules. There's a big difference between like Big AZ's style and King of the Mountain of what we're doing. So I'm more accustomed and I would thrive more on King of the Mountain because that's something that I can practice and practice and practice at on my own, and I'm not going to know what all these other rule changes are. So that is a big deficit on my end because you don't know what to expect, and it's Katie bar the door and anything goes. And my brain, I want to practice things. I want to, try different things and test different things. And if I don't even know, if I don't have a clue of what the possibilities are of all the different rule changes that could possibly be, then that puts me then that's hurting me. And so I would not. I want to shine with the stuff that I know of, and King of the Mountain style tournament would appeals to me a whole lot greater than a random anything goes. A super chat changes anything and everything. So I'm not going to be proficient at that. That's just how my brain works.
Yeah, it's true though. It's a thinking style, right? And then, John, were you going to say something?
I was going to throw something in there.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Craig.
And that's important, I think, for those. I love the King of the Mountain tournament, but when it comes to like AZ's tournaments, even though they're not always the tournaments, you're just playing against 4 other people for one night, but it's got a lot of rule changes. But I've always thought that AZ's lives really teach you to think differently on how to play this game.
Oh, absolutely.
Of which you can carry some of that to the actual casino. But you have to pay attention to what's rolling, and then you have to compare with when you're at the actual casino of what's rolling. That tells you when to jump on something. It might be an instinct, but I think gut is part of good tournament play. I've done it before in Chris's tournament the first year when I played against John. He still won, but the very last roll, I went heavy on a number, and that's the number that hit. So sometimes it is a gut instinct, and sometimes you have to go for it. But sometimes in these tournament plays, that's what you're doing. You're going for it. Whether you go for it early and then tap out early, is one thing. But if you can do what Jen said, grind, and then like in the King of the Mountain Island, where you have a limited number of rolls. What do you do when it's roll 18? Like I think John put in chat. What do you
Yep.
do when it's
That was
roll
where I was
18
going
and there's
next.
only 20 rolls? Do you
Yep.
change your strategy? Do you
Well, you're
change what
gonna
you're
see
doing?
that's where it's gonna come in handy is where you're gonna have to start looking at your chip rack. Because
Yeah.
now you're gonna know how much you have in your chip rack. If you don't know, and like say one of the rules that we've had before is you can't get a chip count. So you're
Most
gonna keep
tournaments you
track of what's
can't.
in your rack. So you're down on roll 18 and you think you're down, I don't know, you're down by like 20% over the leader, you're going to change your bets and you're going to try to do something to get that extra amount to go up.
But in King of the Mountain, on each round, we have a chip count, and then so what we know where we stand. But I do understand what you're saying on 18 or 19. You're kind of you should have an educated guess of what you're doing, but then you don't know really what your opponent is because we can't see our racks, right there, at least we used not to, in the King of the Mountain style.
What is
Yeah,
nice
and
about a tournament like Friday Night Fights is that because it's by round, and the fact that you can win the first 2 rounds and then that's it. You don't have to play the third round.
Sure.
Yeah.
All you got to do is beat that person by $1 in the second round. They could be the chip winner of the first round, have a big stack, to play or whatever, and then you have like a little stack, but you lost the first round, and then you just didn't make the right decisions in the second round, and it's over. It's only two.
Yeah.
Only need 2 rounds.
That's what it is. I mean, that's how I did the battle royale against you, right, Craig? I mean, you won 4 of the 5 recorded matches, had a huge lead going into the final, and I just happened to be throwing 9s that day, and I literally max pressed the 9 every single time, and I threw 3 of them in a row. And it
What
was
was
full press,
interesting is
full press,
that
full press.
we made a lot of money. Like
Yeah.
I made a lot of money, and when I did that, you just made a ton more money. You know what I mean? You made like 2 grand more.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it was
And
ridiculous how well we both did in Vegas.
yeah.
You know?
And see, this
Yeah,
is
I got a
another thing
question for
with
you in regards to casino tournaments. I never heard of those before. What are some of the rules that they put into those?
Yeah, I've gone to a lot of them. So like I went to one that had like $100,000 for the prize. And the rules vary depending on which casino puts it on, like if it's Caesars versus MGM. But it's basically as many people as they can have sign up, and then they'll do a table of 12. And then you need to be like in the top 6 of that 12 to move on. But I think you get an automatic seed if you win one. And I mean, of course, since you're in the top 6. Also, you win money if you're in the top 6 of your table. And then at the end of the day, whoever has like the most chips wins like a certain kind of prize. But it's you can literally just bet like a 6 and 8 for $30 and watch people just eliminate themselves like Nemo style. They think that they're going to go for it. But remember, you're picking up the dice and just winging it, and it's a different person every roll. There is
Yeah.
no way to have continuity. So if you think the 8 rolled, oh, here comes another 8, you just go all in on the 8, you get wiped out. But they do limit how much you can rail dump so that nobody has like $500,000, after like 10 rolls. So you can only rail dump like maybe like, I think you can go up to like 2x or something small. You can't do very much. They limit how much you can hop. So it's really fun and it's very different. And I think that your experience on Big AZ, like Craig was saying, will help because you can kind of adjust your betting and you learn how to think on the fly with the different rules. And
Right.
every tournament I've been in has been totally different rules.
And that goes back to the whole thing of knowing the rules of the tournament, right? If you're playing in Big AZ's thing, the rules could change at any second because somebody
Yeah.
could super chat something, right? If you're playing in my tournament and the rules could change every single shooter, only one rule is changing, but some rules can change. You play in, one of these casino sponsored tournaments, the rules can change. Like my local doesn't have craps tournaments for, players, but they have blackjack tournaments. And based on the blackjack tournament, it differs every single week in what the rules are in that blackjack tournament. and they cycle the same rules throughout. Like they have a season of it basically with one final table culmination at the end where you have to win one of the earlier sessions in order to qualify for one of the end sessions. But like the rules change throughout. So when I go play in those, I have to go look at what the rules are that week before I enter because I need to know how to play to be able to take advantage, right? If I play straight blackjack, might be good enough to do something, but it's not going to win me the tournament, right? There's other factors that come into play that you have to know how to, use to your advantage, or like John said earlier, make your opponents use them to their disadvantage.
Yep.
Right. See, that's what on my tournament when John PC was playing, it was, lay 10 paid 30 to 1. Well, changing the lay bet to pay 30 to 1 also changed the buy bet to pay 30 to 1. So a bunch of people laid the 10 for 1,500 or 1,800 and put 200 on the buy bet. You can't lose that bet. It's not possible to lose, right? You're winning regardless. So like it's an easy way. Yeah, it might be boring. You're sitting there because you're not getting paid on any other number other than a 10, but you're going to win. Whereas if you're betting on the insides, you're not picking up as much money as these guys are on the other one. So knowing the rules is also very, very important with these tournament plays. And that's probably the number one thing that I think most of us on this panel would stress in these type of events is understanding the rules. And if you don't know, ask questions. Somebody will tell you what the rules are, right? Like if you're playing in a casino sponsored event and you don't know what the rules mean, go ask somebody. They will tell you what the rules are, right?
Yep.
You're playing on my thing. You don't know what the rule means? Ask me. I'll stop the game and tell you exactly what the rule is. And if I need confirmation from the player who's put that rule into effect, we'll get it right then and there. And there's no questions after that, right? Everybody who's there knows exactly what the rules are at that given time.
I played in a tournament once with JusticeJen, and I'll tell you what, he outsmarted me, and it was genius because we had a maximum amount of bet that we could put on the box numbers. So we would buy the 10 for 5,000, say, but he would also place the 10. And he realized it on his. So let's just say the 4 and the 10, you could only have a max bet. So he bought them and placed them. So he had to double the bet, and he did it, and it came in. So he got paid twice on that number. I got paid once, which gave him a big jump. But I learned my lesson, so next time I did it. Yep. So now you got to stop thinking. And here's one of the other things is you're limited to 3 bets. So if he's already got them placed and bought, and I don't, I got to waste my bets to start doubling the bets and all that other stuff to try to get caught up. So that's just an example of using the rules or the unmentioned rules to your advantage.
Speaking of rules like that, on big AZs, which is great, is that it's not just the rules that get put in by super chats, but you can have almost like participation from the live chat for people who can cancel a rule by just putting in a higher super chat.
Yep.
But knowing the rules is one thing. Understanding them and executing them wisely is a completely different story.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
because you can get get overwhelmed so easily and mind screwed, and then you have brain lockup, and then you're no good to yourself at all.
I've been in AZs playing AZs tournaments, and I'll tell you, this nice where there's 15, 20 different rule changes.
Yeah.
And it's great. I don't know how he keeps track, but the only way I keep track is because he puts it on the screen and I have to have YouTube up because it's the only way I'm going to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to understand the math of the rule changes too. I think I've seen people like just jump on something that was like, well, that's still not an advantageous math rule change. So you should stick to your plan. So that's when, understanding every kind of nuance of like the game theory is really, really helpful. Like if something pays like 2x, if the field pays triple on the 2 and 12, for example, then it's always going to be advantageous to be on the field. right? Like I think I've seen like some hops where it's like, well, it's completely changed the whole game, and you're just not gonna have that. It's not gonna be useful. You're not gonna have that on a casino tournament, like at all.
Right.
Usually the maximum bet you can have, maximum of any tournaments I played is $500 total bet at one time. So you can't take advantage of it, even and they limit how much you can hop. So it's not like you can hope for the 12, hop 500 on the 12, and then it hits, you're like, woo, game over, I win all $100,000. But yeah, it's good, it's fun. I want to know what John and Station Casino has in mind, and then we should just practice those rules over and over.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as I know,
And I've
I'll put it
finished
out there,
on
of course, right?
almost every tournament I finished. If it's like a top 6 will pay, I'll do whatever it takes to beat 6, because you can always climb higher, but I'm always aiming for 6. I just want to be in the money.
I got a question for the whole panel and to go around the horn. Do you guys feel that it's a better adrenaline rush, like a high when you're doing the tournament versus tournament style versus just either regular craps or is there a King of the Mountain versus an AZ style? Do you still get do you get a bigger adrenaline rush from the big AZ from the rule changes, or are you more comfortable and still happy and content with the King of the Mountain style? I'm just curious.
Well, I think they're completely different types of tournaments. With King of the Mountain, you can get excited with, going from round to round, especially if it was a really good round and you were able to make it through to the 20 rolls. I think I've actually played where, or have watched where somebody did not even make it out of the first round. They just lost their bankroll in 7 rolls or something. So that's not that exciting. Might be to the person who won that round, but with Big AZ, I think it gets exciting. Like John's been there, and I've seen him on there when you all get to start getting to the placards.
Oh yeah, the $1 million chip.
or the 1 million, where literally, and I think even Chris in his tournament, he's constantly having to find new colors because you're reaching new heights.
Playing cards. Oh yeah, AZ's got a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah, I mean, I had $100,000 chips, and at one point in the first match, I think I needed $200,000 chips or $250,000 chips I had out there because the bankrolls were in the 2 millions. I don't got enough green chips for that.
But
like it's how it works.
But is it the adrenaline junkie, high that you guys prefer the tournaments, or am I barking up a wrong tree?
I think you're good with that thought process. Like for me personally, right? I have 2 different schools of thought. Casino play is I'm there to win money, right? Tournament play, it's like a game to me, right? And I'm trying to play to win said game. So like it's completely different to me in how I think. Like both of them will give me, I guess, an adrenaline rush. Let's say I would say regular craps play doesn't give me an adrenaline rush unless like, we're a number away from the ATS and I'm trying to hit it or something. Like, yeah, I might get an adrenaline rush from there, but like my emotions at the craps table when I'm playing are very even keeled. I'm in check 99.9% of the time, right? Like that's different to me. Like these tournaments, they're crazy, right? And like I feel like the adrenaline is so much higher in tournament play because there's so many other factors you're worried about other than winning the tournament. But those things go into winning the tournament, right? So like I'm worried about what John's got in his rack. I'm worried about what Craig has in his rack. I'm worried about the rule change that Jen just put in. I'm worried about the rule change that is pending that no one's even put in yet. I'm trying to think of, all right, what am I going to do if another rule change comes in, right? I'm running math in my head over here. I have these bets. They're going to pay me this. John's got these bets. Where is he going to edge me out? Where am I edging him out? And there's a lot of things that go into it. So for me personally, there's a huge adrenaline rush in tournament play. At the craps table, like if you put a heart monitor on me at the craps table, it's probably like a flat line. You think I'm dead. Honestly
See,
speaking.
I agree with you, Chris, because when I'm playing craps for real, and let's say you got somebody on a monster roll. It happened to me when I was in Florida, and I bought in for $500, and this one woman got the dice. She rolled for 90 minutes, and when I played, when she was rolling, I got my bets up, and I think I had 300 on every number all the way across. I regressed twice. Now in a tournament play, I'm not regressing. I'm going to keep pressing. I'm just going to go, and go to the moon and just make sure I'm putting chips in the rack. But when I'm at a regular craps table, no. I get nervous. I regress and I take it back because I try to keep the profit at the casino. But in a tournament, I don't give a shit. I'm just here to have a blast and I want to beat everybody else.
Bob
I
Chops?
think that
Oh,
would
I'm
be
sorry.
different though if it was $100,000 on the line, John. I think you'd.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you, Jen. I've never played in a real casino tournament, but I'll tell you what. Now I'm going to look for them.
Yeah, you can.
Because I got 5 casinos near me.
Mm-hmm.
I have Foxwoods, Mohegan, Bally's, MGM, Springfield, and I have the Wynn in Boston. So no matter which way I go, it's an hour. So I'm going to start looking for craps tournaments.
Bob
They're
Chops.
fun. Go ahead, Bob.
So when it comes to tournament play, you definitely have to think about things very differently than normal play. And it's also, I have several problems. One is I'm cavalier. The second is squirrel.
I'm the same way, Bob.
So I get into a tournament and I'm still like trying to come out of my shell in order to try to build a bigger bankroll rather than just doing okay for myself. However, a couple of times just doing okay seems to win the game only because everybody else flamed out. But in larger tournaments that I've been online, not everybody's going to flame out. In a smaller group, you might get lucky on that. But I haven't really got the tournament mindset, and that's because I don't have a good craps mindset yet in order to try not to corrupt that playing in a tournament where you have to think differently.
You need to come play on AZ's channel one night this week.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, you'll learn a lot. You really will.
I keep missing it. It's something, and I keep threatening just to drive up there just so I can be at the table.
Jen, what are you eating?
See how dedicated I am to Sunday Craps Chat. I'm foregoing my tiramisu, and then they delivered this fancy New York style pizza in a tray, and it's getting all cold and congealed now. But see how courteous I am.
You're too much.
Somebody already said in chat how dedicated you are.
Do you have a microwave?
In this cruise cabin, no, but I do. If I don't want to finish it, I can throw it out into the ocean. See.
I'm not sure if pizza's fish food.
Oh,
Nemo, can you confirm that for us?
Speaking of someone who will fizzle out.
Nemo.
If you throw tiramisu away, we're no longer friends. That's all I'm saying. Never throw away tiramisu. Oh my god. All-time favorite.
That's the diabetic, right?
I'm only diabetic on Thursdays. That's what I tell my wife.
Do we want to get into some questions now, or?
Yeah, John, you have
tell us
questions
what
queued
the
up?
rules of the tournament are?
Do what?
Does John want to tell us what the rules of the tournament are?
Maybe they're not finalized yet.
Oh, you're still thinking about it? Yeah.
We are not. Yeah, they're not finalized yet. We're working on where it's going to be still. It's going to be on the floor in a back room. So we're still negotiating with how it's going to be. I would love it to be a thing where like all 8 spots. So getting there is the key, right? So the idea is this: we get to the tournament by we're going to do a Friday night fight style 1 versus 1 thing. So there's going to be a field of 64 people, 8 regions, so 8 sets of whatever, and we'll do like whatever it is, 12 weeks or so of games. The top 8 people, so the person who wins the region, the king of the mountain in the 8 different brackets, those 8 people play on the final table. So you have to donate to the charity to get into the tournament. We'll play for however long that takes. Then the top 8 people show up in Vegas and they play. And that last game is a real game. It'll be casino tournament rules. You know, whatever they set it up is how it's going to be. But to get there, it'll be our regular Friday Night Fights format. And just, you know, that's how we'll do it. We'll just do that way we can have it on multiple channels. And, you know, I'm thinking like, you know, AZ can have an entry. We'll have an entry. Casino Quest will have an entry, that kind of thing. So we'll do something like that.
So
those
John,
rules will be pretty well set up.
I'm
go for it.
Join that tournament.
Yep.
And I'm going to come in the top 8, but if I can't make it to Vegas, can I donate someone to play for me?
I would tentatively say yes. Yeah, I know what you mean, but tentatively I would say yes to that because
We'll accept any donation.
You know, or really, it's like the person behind you would probably get the automatic bid if they could travel. I think part of the thing would be like if you're going to be in the tournament, the idea is to travel to Vegas and be in the finals, right? So you should almost like I'm committing to come on out there and do it, but we can have that conversation.
All right.
And yeah, final table rules we just don't know.
It for you, John. No problem. I can just
there you go
up there, crash at my wife's cousin's
I'm sure there's plenty of people that would volunteer.
Yeah, it's going to be a bitch to organize. It won't be that much. We're having a private chat. It won't be that much of a slog. I've got it basically figured out how it's going to work to be quick. I want this to be quick and punchy, not this slog fest. So whatever we do to get to 8 people is to be TBD. But it's going to be Friday Night Fight style to get there, whether it's 8 or 10 or whatever size brackets they are, and what channels we do the shows on. We'll figure that out as we go here.
So you're going to break up the United States into like 8 different sections?
Well, it could be that, or it could be like, you know, my community has a winner, and like AZ does his own Friday Night Fights. Like it could be like AZ and HCS and us and whoever else. Maybe every like community has their own way of bringing a person to the final 8. And maybe we just do it like that, right? You know what I'm saying? Like there's lots of ways to figure out who the best 8 are and where they're sourced from. It doesn't all have to be Friday Night Fights. So think of it that way too.
All the local clubs of WWE that feed into the WWE.
Exactly. That's how I'm thinking about it. Something like that where everybody, like the big AZ
club gets bragging rights if they win.
Yeah, totally. The big AZ club gets to brag about their guy won it. Like that would make it so much more entertaining. It's about getting everybody on board though. Like getting AZ and Brian and me, of course I'll agree to it, but like everybody to agree to like the format and how they're going to do it, what the dates are. There's something to be done there. George from CY could do the same thing. Actually, the winner of Chris's tournament, right? You already had one. You could call that your entry if we wanted to, right? So TBD, this is why we have our bi-weekly meetings for the Craps for the Cure Club, because we're trying to figure out what's the right way to do it. And that was part of the topic today, was that getting into like, how are we going to decide how this thing is going to work and that kind of stuff. So Big AZ already agreed. Whatever you need, he says. See that?
Yeah,
Big AZ's already.
I mean, I'm in for whatever you need. Whoever won my tournament, Nemo won my tournament, but no one who won my tournament gets in because the rule changes affect everything. So
it does. It really
you'd have to play. You'd have to play standard craps to get into it. I think like having 30-1 payouts and other stuff, it nullifies basically the entry, in my opinion. Just because, I can sit here and change an any crap bet to pay 30-1 and just chuck quarters on the any crap all day long while you play, whatever you want, and I win. So
there's a big difference. There's a big difference.
There is. But I think for sure that the Big AZ champion and the HCS champion, however Brian wants to decide who his best player is, and that player wants to go, I'm down. That's one seat at the final table. That's gonna be. You know what? I think we just made a rule.
No.
I think that's how we're gonna do it.
No.
Jen, you started.
I'm a member of AZ and HCS, so you know what I mean. Like I pay literally like 10 subscriptions. So do I get to be all 10 chat channels?
See, that's a good point, Jen.
That's not fair. Yeah.
Go win them both. Win them both.
Okay, well, then I'm gonna pay on Craig's too and make sure that Craig has a channel. I'm gonna enter right? Like you're all screwed because I'll have 10 entries. Yeah.
Isn't that the way the World Series of Poker, whatever it's called? Do people go to different qualifiers until they qualify?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, can you rebuy into the tournament? Like,
Yeah.
you play a standard blackjack tournament at a casino. There's what, 8 to 10 to 15 rounds. You can, like
Yeah.
personally, what I do in those tournaments, right? I'll play in one of the first 3 rounds whenever I can get a seat, try to put up a good number, and then I sit there and watch to see is anyone eclipsing the number that I have up there. And if they do, and I'll sit there and wait and see where we're at, and then I'm buying in again to try to eclipse them again. Right? I already know I got a solid number in there. Now I'm trying to, go even higher. So I think we got to, it's got to be tweaked there. But
For sure. But the idea, I think, is sound. I think the idea of having group winners, I think, makes good sense.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that's going to happen is if you're going to have tournaments like that, everybody has to have the same rules. You can't, you can't have certain different rules at different places because it just won't work.
Right.
Exactly. And that's what I said about, my tournament, for example. Like, it doesn't count because the rules are absurd.
Well, let's go to questions. Let's see what the
audience
are.
There actually aren't any questions, believe it or not.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah, we bored them all to death.
We did not. That was great conversation tonight. I loved it. You guys are awesome.
No, we can. I mean, there was a couple questions we addressed during while we were talking. I had my
Duracell does have one really good question here, though, Chris. It's this: what are the fundamentals of a good craps player? We've talked about this. Like, I thought that Battle Royale was trying to sniff some of that out. And tournament play is a different animal. What is a good craps player? How do you guys define that?
We'll kick it around. I'm gonna confuse everybody for a minute, and then we'll kick it all around. I think Duracell. While I'm going here, define good craps player as a casino craps player or a tournament craps player,
right?
Because they're 2 different things, right? Like, being a good tournament player involves nothing that, well, not nothing, but it involves very little of what being a good casino player does. So clarify that, because that's 2 very different roads we're going to go down. If you want to be a good tournament player, if you want to be a good casino player, he just put in there casino player. All right. So off the tournament mindset, what are the fundamentals of a good casino player? Glenn, coming to you first.
Obviously bankroll discipline. When you walk to the table and whatever you have, make sure that for each hand, you're not overextending yourself like I do almost every time. If you're playing at a place more than once, you start to recognize some people. Some of them have a certain throwing style and tend to do certain things. You got to remember that so you can hopefully get a little bit better edge there when that person's throwing. And lastly is always pay attention to that bankroll. And once you get up enough, lock some in the wallet or walk away from the table altogether so you don't give it back. Discipline.
Jen, good craps player. What quantifies a good craps player? In the casino.
I agree with what Papa Chop said, but not just pay attention to their bankroll. You got to pay attention to everything, like who's at the table, what's going on, who's had too much to drink, stick change, is it coming? I actually think that you have to be a winning player. I mean, that's like kind of like bottom line. Yeah, you can be like the most brilliant craps player, but if you're just always losing because you can't turn off your bets or you don't know when to quit, then you're not that good at a player. I think you have to know the math of everything. So you have to know not just on the light side, you got to know all the dark side stuff, right? What DC pays, what's a lay pay, what's the VIG. If you know all of that, then you can actually pay attention to like everything. If you're a one-sided player, then maybe you're just super strong on that one side. I think you'd still be a good player, but at the end of the day, you have to be a winning player. If you're not a winning player, I would say you're just knowledgeable, but you're not really a great craps player.
Dylan, what's a good craps player in your opinion?
Knowing the bridge, all of that of what the Casino Quest is trying to drill into everybody. The basic fundamentals are paramount and key to the foundation of everything. So that's what I would have to say is a good player is someone that knows all of the basics and the foundations to build upon. You don't have to go crazy, or you don't have to have you don't have to fly so close to the sun to get burned. You just have to have some common sense. So but just building that foundation is having a strong foundation is key.
John, what do you think makes someone a good craps player?
I think knowing when to walk away. I think that's really important. One of the other things I think the tied with that is definitely money management. Know when you're out of the hand. If once you know you're out and you got profit in the rack, remember to pay yourself. I think that's really important.
Craig, what makes someone a good craps player?
I wouldn't know. When I find
Only
out,
the
I'll let
wise
you know.
man thinks he's a fool.
All right, well, Craig will figure it out one day, maybe. We'll see. But no, yeah, I agree with what everybody said. Knowledge of the game, both sides of the game. Obviously, you don't have to play both sides of the game, but knowing what's available to you, let's say, right? I don't need you to be an expert on what the payouts are on a side you don't play necessarily, but just knowing the options that are available to you. Obviously, discipline with money management, discipline with betting, right? You go in with $500 at the casino and you go $500 out there on your spread. It's not a good craps player. That's a lucky craps player if you win, right? If you want to take in dice control, dice influence, that kind of stuff, that may factor into your ability to be a good craps player, whether you view that in a positive or negative way. That's up to you. And then finally, probably like patience and emotion at the craps table, not letting things get you all up or down, trying to keep a relatively even keel. I think those are some keys to being a good craps player. Is there any other questions that came in, John? I don't think there was. I could be wrong, but
Nope, that was it. It was all the questions that came
All
over
right.
comments to that last question. So yeah.
all right. Let's get to our John. Actually,
Are
Go
we
ahead,
are
Don.
we are we able to reanimate our animal friends?
That's
we're
what I
not-
was gonna
course.
say.
Of course
John, I
we
need a
can.
visit from my buddy.
There you go. Hold on.
Light, 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 yeah, light, 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 not like,
Love that guy. Love that guy. All right, let's get to our final thoughts and final words. Color coming in. But make sure you follow our good friend's wisdom there and like the video. All right, Craig, any final thoughts, final words?
Be satisfied. Be satisfied whether you had a good session, mediocre session, or not so good session. Just be satisfied that you're able to come back another time, that we play this game multiple times. If we're on a trip, we have multiple sessions. So, one bad session doesn't mean that you're going home. Just, gather yourself, think about what you did wrong, think about what you would have done in another situation. But also, if you really like playing and shooting, learn to shoot. Put the practice in. Don't just again, Gargle said it earlier, a little bit on a different note, but he said it earlier about, you don't go to the casino to practice. You do the practicing at home. And then you try something at the casino, you try it. If you want to try it and not have to spend your money really to do it, don't. If you want to practice a toss you've been practicing. It's not going to cost you a lot of money, and or just play the 6 and 8. But be disciplined, learn to shoot, and be satisfied.
Glenn, final thoughts, final words.
It's actually in the form of a question. Why isn't there a 3 dice version of craps? We could call it Trey Crapier. I patented it already. I'll get the rules banged out here. I literally thought about this while driving through the dust storms of New Mexico this afternoon. Even though I've been no craps all week because I've been touring Texas. So,
All right, everyone, be on the lookout for a new version of craps coming to a casino near you soon. John, any final thoughts, final words?
I'd say definitely if you haven't played in a tournament, try it. It's a blast. I'm telling you, I'm hooked. I absolutely love playing in tournament style. It's just so much fun. And just enjoy yourself, you know?
Yes, sir. Jen, any final thoughts, final words?
Yeah, so I won $1,500 yesterday. Day one of my cruise. Got real lucky. 30 rollers, 2 of them. So I've got 3 more days, and I'm gonna think about what Craig said. I've got 3 more days to try to build upon the profit and not give it back to the casino. But usually what works the first time, once you have your profit, then I guess it just depends on your purpose. If you're there to make points, if you're there to actually win money, always now my number one thing is to win some money. But I think you should alter your play and be really flexible and be a good craps player and know many, many different strategies and do what Chris says, just 6 and 8, keep it simple. So that's what I'm going to try. Hopefully I can report back more winnings for the rest of the trip.
Good luck, Jen.
We want to see more winnings, Jen. I need the chip porn in my iMessage. Dylan, final thoughts, final words.
You can still be a winner even when you lose a few battles. So it's all mental. It's all mental and how you look at things.
Wise words from General Dylan. John, any final thoughts? PC John, any final thoughts, final words?
Yeah, can I make an announcement? Is that okay?
Make your announcement.
All right. So I just asked in chat who likes whiskey, and I got a bunch of hand raises. We got like a bunch of likes on that too, right? Craps for the Cure. We had this conversation earlier. I'm free to talk about it now. There will be special branded whiskey created by Devil's Due that'll have the dog that we bought 2 years ago, Chiro's dog, Mooch, will be branded on the bottles of whiskey with the Veterans Moving Forward logo as part of the bottle. Those will be made available for donation purchase as part of Craps for the Cure 2025. TBD how we're going to do that yet in terms of getting them shipped to you, because it's hard to get alcohol to some states, but we'll figure that out. But that's the announcement. We have our first real thing. Isn't that cool? It's a Devil's Due bourbon, and out of West Virginia is going to be the sponsor for that.
That's awesome.
John, are they going to sell
That's what I
it publicly?
They will not be made publicly. There'll be 350 bottles, I think is the count. It'll be just for us in VMF to distribute, sell as we please. That'll be it. There'll be very limited edition bottles.
Is that 1 barrel?
I think it's 1 barrel. Yep, they're making 1 barrel for us. Yep.
I was trying to do the math real quick in my head.
Yep. Yeah, it's 1 barrel. So yeah, it's gonna be very cool. Yeah.
I love it. I
That's
got
it.
my name on 325 of those bottles, John. So
It's about
25 up for grabs.
By the way, that's $21,000 to buy the barrel. So just so you know,
That's fine. Jen's got it. For
not
me.
super cheap.
Sugar Mama's taking care of me there.
There you go.
Everybody at home. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. If you still have some time in your Sunday, have a great week upcoming. Don't forget, stay tuned for news on Craps for the Cure. Stay tuned for news on any of these tournaments that are going on. Enter a tournament. They're fun. Have a good time. You're going to fall flat on your face first few times. I can promise you that. Rub the dirt off. Get up. Play again. All right? Don't take your first experience as you're going to be, this is what it's going to be like all the time. Get up, play again, and eventually you will probably, maybe, hopefully win one. But you can try. Anyway, again, everyone have a great rest of your night. It's the conclusion of season 3, episode 14 of Craps Chat, and we will see you all very, very soon.
Right, Chris. Our next episode is our last one for the season. So in 2 weeks, so we're gonna call it good. Yep.
Hey, John, how do you enter the Friday night fight?
You will eventually be able to do it through casinogaming.tv once I have the website reconfigured to handle it. It's got all the old stuff, and I gotta zero it out. But that's where it'll be. Casinogaming.tv. I'll let you guys know on the morning show when that is.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. I look forward to playing.
Yeah, man. See y'all.
All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks.